It's just like the epitome of torture stability.
Yeah, torture stability. It's a great form of government.
It's a
stable form of government.
Hey there, welcome to the Tabletop Travel Guide, the podcast where we explore fictional worlds and civilizations right from the comfort of our own tables. I'm Tyler, and this week in a session, we actually got inadvertently teleported to Nidal, the topic of our conversation today, when we tried to go through an elf gate, and that was rough. And now we're in a death combat tournament thing?
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm the one who made that dungeon. And it accidentally worked out that I sent you all the Nidal before it was relevant for the podcast. So, oops.
Yeah, it worked out.
And I'm Sam, and in that same session, we started in Keonan, and I took every possible opportunity to drag our friends who had not listened to the Keonan podcast. And so every 5 minutes I was, you would have known that if you'd listened to the podcast.
That's true. Love you, Chad. So before we dive into our episode for the week, we will do our favorite segment of things we mispronounced or misspoke.
Womp womp.
Last week's, we actually got a message on Reddit from user Sealed Dragon, who pointed out a few things we talked about in Chile X Part 2 that we kind of misspoke about the Hell Knights.
Oh, a Hell Knight fan.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool. He had some good information that we had missed. So last time we talked about remember the test to be a Hell Knight, you had to kill a devil?
Yes.
And so we said, oh, well, it's not too big a deal because you summon the devil and then you just send it back. So apparently the spell to call a devil is like you actually bring it in and you have to kill it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit more of like an involved multi kind of step situation.
Yeah, and so like it's either you die or the devil dies. And then yeah. So it's
higher stakes.
Higher stakes. They don't just get unsummoned. Yes. So one of the other things we talked about is how the Hell Knights kind of follow the laws of where they're at. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he pointed out is that they will follow the laws of where they're at unless they go against their own order's laws. Oh,
yeah. I guess I just like assumed that.
Yeah.
And didn't like explicitly.
Yeah, we might have like implied it, but to be explicit, the Hell Knights will go against things they deem unlawful.
Right. I guess I was just thinking it was like, oh, I have like my laws, but if I show up in a country where like everyone is vegetarian, then I'm like, great, yes, I will be vegetarian while I am here to honor that law.
Yeah.
Rather than like thinking of like something that would go against a morality.
Yeah, exactly. The laws they follow are their own laws followed by.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Laws. Yeah. So the final thing is when I mentioned last episode that the Order of the Rack was the one that is, most loathed and that they handled all of the secrets and the revisionist history. That was only half true. So the Order of the Rack is the one that is in charge of getting all of the old copies and burning them of history.
Okay.
But they are not the actual ones that control and distribute the new copies. There is another order that is kind of an illegitimate order called the Order of the Glyph. And this one was literally created by House Thrune without the say-so and approval from any other Hell Knight order. So this Order of the Glyph was put in to power, and then they are the ones who handle all of the changes to history. So they know the actual history, but then they also are the ones who control like what the new history is. And part of the new history is they've always been here. They are a very official order of the Hell Knights.
Oh, so sneaky.
Yeah. So thanks again to Sealed Dragon. We appreciate anybody who has information. If we're going to mess stuff up, we're going to go through things and mispronounce stuff or misspeak or miss a few details here. So, feel free to let us know. We always like to learn. We always like to know where we went wrong. And, we've had this segment pretty consistently since the very first episode, and we will continue to have it. So with that, we are going to take it over to Sam, who has a warning before we start our episode.
Yeah. Today, we are going to be talking about Nidal, and for the first time ever, we're going to have a trigger warning for the content of this episode. So today's episode, we are going to explore a region of Golarion that deals with some mature themes. We would advise that any young listeners we may have, please skip this episode.
Like, for real.
Seriously.
We're really not kidding on that one. Adults, if you are choosing to continue, that is fine. Obviously, we want you to listen, but please be aware that we may touch on some themes such as sadism, masochism, torture, and body disfigurement. So if any of that seems like it might be potentially triggering for you, it is okay to skip this episode. We give you our permission. If you are a young listener, turn off the podcast right now.
And never take your party members to Nidal.
Yeah, just don't go to Nidal.
It's a trap.
They're not listening anymore, guys. They
Good.
Can't hear you.
Okay, so definitely take your party members to Nidal because it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so Ryan is going to be our storyteller today.
Yep.
So Ryan, bring us into the world of sadism.
Of chains, yeah. So I guess I'll start with Sam. You talked a little bit about Zon Kuthon previously, and we kind of just like breezed over Zon Kuthon.
We did.
Yeah. So let's do a quick.
He was the brother that you're just like, don't worry about.
Yeah. So let's briefly do a little more detailed dive into Zon Kuthon because he's very relevant to Nidal as a nation. Who is Zon Kuthon? Well, he was originally Dobral.
Okay.
And he was the son of Thrawn, called the Prince That Howls. He was like a fundamental wolf spirit of Golarion. And he was the sister of Shellen. And things were nice. Things were good. He had a little verbal tiff with Shellen. They might have like an argument. It's not exactly clear what they were disagreeing about. But he decided to take a, and I quote, trip beyond and behind reality.
Okay.
I don't know what behind reality means, but he went beyond and behind.
Cool.
Where he saw some non-disclosed things that is obvious, I assume are horrible, because he came back mad, wounded, and obsessed with suffering.
That's not a type of vacation I want to go on.
No. Are you going to get into what happened to him there?
Not a ton, because that also gets super deep, but he had a bad time while he was there. If you want to go a little bit deeper, that's fine.
Well, just there's the idea that he gets possessed by another being. So yes, he comes back with all of this, but it's less of a like PTSD situation because of what I encountered and more of I encountered some bad stuff and the bad stuff literally overtook him.
Took over. So he comes back. He injures Shellen. They get into like a physical altercation, as much physical as gods can get.
Yeah.
And he corrupts his father, turning his father into his herald, now called the Prince of Chains. So his dad's like totally encompassed in chains now. And he uses his dad as his messenger all over Golarion to spread the good word? The
word?
questionable word? The word of Zon Kuthon.
Yeah, it's probably good we didn't cover that in the deific family reunion episode. That would have been a weird side story.
Yeah, and then my favorite part of all this is Abadar looks around and goes, man, if we let this guy like continue to come to the party and hang out with us, it's going to be a problem. We're going to burn multiple houses down. There's going to be like a full-scale war of the gods of Golarion. So he approaches Zon Kuthon with a deal. He offers Zon Kuthon his own private little prison on the Plane of Shadow. In return, Abadar will give him something from the first vault. The first original shadow. The original shadow.
Huh.
It's like almost like Peter Pan.
Yeah.
But real weird.
But super weird.
Okay.
So Zon Kuthon immediately jumps on this deal.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, I'm all in. I definitely want the first shadow. He doesn't get the first shadow until after and where is it called? Oh, right here. The Sun of Golarion no longer shines. That's like the official release date is when the Sun of Golarion will no longer shine. So Zon Kuthon goes to his little prison and hangs out for a while. And wouldn't you know it?
Oh no.
Earthfall happens.
Can you imagine like the deal? Like, gosh, Zon Kuthon's such an idiot. The sun's never gonna. Oh no, there's a meteor.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, Zon Kuthon gets back out. He gets his part of the deal. He claims the first shadow, and then he immediately goes back to the plane of shadow. And like before, he just had his little prison, and now he like claims the whole plane of shadow as his domain. So he like builds his shadow empire. He goes down to hell, or at least he like influences hell. So there are these things they were called chitons in 1E. Now they're called Velstrax in 2E. They are literally demons who seek ultimate sensation through self-mutilation.
Ooh.
They are actually demons who were so into mutilation and torture that the rest of the demons put into a prison in hell, thinking like those guys are too intense. We can't handle those ones. And then Zon Kuthon helps to break them out, and they come to the plane of shadow, where they live as Zon Kuthon's personal torture demons now.
Oh boy.
Hence the trigger warning.
Yeah, good stuff. So those are like the original Velstrax. Now they are created by souls of masochistic or sadistic people who die on Golarion. So there are more of them now. Nidal is a big contributor of souls of that nature. And yeah, Zon Kuthon kind of lives on his shadow plane and has his little empire and continues to influence things to this day.
Oh my gosh. Why?
Look,
why,
this
though?
is what happens when you go off on a weird trip and you fall down a weird hole and you end up in a weird place and something like eats your soul. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
It's rough.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Don't fight your siblings. It's fine.
Don't fight.
Figure it out. Talk it out. Don't just leave.
This is why you communicate. Otherwise,
Yes.
you will turn into a possessed torture demon.
Your
Tortured god.
journey of self-discovery gets real weird real quick.
Yeah. So, Earthfall's about to happen.
Okay.
Zon Kuthon is free, functionally free. Let's go back to Golarion then.
Okay.
So, our friends the Kellids.
Aww.
No. Hello,
Kellids.
Kellids.
The Kellids. There is a tribes of Kellids wandering around what will be future Nidal. They are called the Horse Lords. And the Horse Lords are really into their horses. They like pride themselves on their mostly hunter-gatherer society. They have literally some of the best horses in all of Golarion.
That's cool.
And they get word that Earthfall is going to happen.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So they think, okay, we can hide all the people in the caves. Like we can do the thing. We can hide underground. That's fine. But our horses, we like really care about our horses.
Aww.
We can't let our horses die. So the leaders of the Horse Lords, they go, guys, this is the hill we're going to die on.
Yeah.
We cannot let our people and our horses die this horrible death in Earthfall. So we're going to go out into our holy lands and we are going to bargain with somebody to like save our people and our horses from Earthfall.
Why can the horses not go in the caves too?
I think the assumption is that horses need like pasture lands, and if you're going to like shove a bunch of horses down into a cave, they like can't survive well.
Yeah, I wonder if they're thinking like, oh, the quality of life is not there, so we don't want to put our horses through that horridness.
How long, this is a little bit off track, but how long did Earthfall last?
I mean, the acute event?
Yeah.
The acute event is like very short. Like a meteor
Okay.
hits Golarion. The long-term event, 52.
That's a long time, because that's the Age of Darkness, right?
Yeah.
So was everybody underground that whole time?
Yes and no is my understanding. Like most of them are underground, but then like obviously we have lots of outliers of people who are above ground.
Yeah. I think it's just like a really hard place to survive.
Okay.
So like if you're trying to save everybody,
When the sun's blotted out, so like
Yeah.
there's no pasture grass. Like even if the meteor doesn't hit
Oh, that's
Nidal,
fair.
like all the plants are going to die. There's no food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not a good
living.
situation.
No.
But anyway, so the Horse Lords, they go, okay, we're gonna grab all the shamans, and we're gonna go find our deities, and we're gonna go make a deal somehow. We're gonna save our people and our horses.
Yeah.
And the Kellids here, they worshipped some other lost to time deities. They worshipped Shelyn a little bit. They worshipped Gozra and Desna. Like they worship other people. And they had 3 Horse Lords specifically, like the 3 strongest, most powerful Horse Lords, the leaders of their people, head out on horseback with a bunch of shamans. We're going to do it.
Okay.
So they're horsing around, they're riding around,
Ayo.
and they find a location called the Weeping Fields, which is like, this is again before Earthfall. So like the meteor is like up and they know what's happening. It's close.
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden are like quaking in fear because they just feel like this overwhelming presence in the area. They know someone is around. And then they look over the horizon and they see like a cloud of shadows just slowly sweeping towards them.
Oh no.
So the shamans are like, no. We need to leave like immediately.
Yeah.
This is really evil, bad stuff. This is a big mistake if you keep going forward. But the horse lords want to save their horses and their families. So they like trudge forward. They trudge onwards and they enter this cloud of shadow, or they get close to the cloud of shadow, and they start to hear whispers.
Oh no.
And they're not totally sure what those whispers are, but it's just these faint little whisperings of something going on. They get into the shadows and all of a sudden they're like overcome by this vision, and they like watch Earthfall, like future Earthfall happen if nothing is done. And they watch their families, they watch their people, they watch their horses all die of like meteor impact and famine and all these horrible things. Awful, awful times. So with the couple shamans still nearby, all the three horse lords just start nodding like, okay, yeah, we're suddenly okay with this. And a vision of the Midnight Lord, or Zon Kuthon, crawls out of a literal portal from the shadow plane and touches each one of them on the forehead.
Oh boy.
Basically sealing a pact of like personal servitude with these three.
That's so creepy.
Yeah. The ring like crawls out is what I imagine.
Yeah.
So he agrees to save Nidal from Earthfall. He will do everything in his power to prevent bad stuff from happening to the horse lords and their families and their horses and everything. In return, the citizens of Nidal are 100% worshippers of Zon Kuthon forever and all eternity.
Man, it's just weird to see a rise of a nation following a torture god is like a bunch of people who just wanted to save their pets.
It's actually really tragic, super tragic. So they all feel like the sensation go out of their bodies. They get these like blank black eyeballs, and they lose the ability to feel all sensation except pain.
Oh boy.
And this is the creation of the Black Triune.
Okay. Ooh.
Which is a cool name.
That is
the
a cool
Black
name.
Triune.
At least they got good branding.
I did not realize that the Black Triune was this far back in history. Like, this is nuts.
Yes. Yeah. So Nidal is protected from Earthfall. It works. Nothing bad happens in Nidal initially.
So it's really like one of the only countries,
civilized locations that survives.
Yeah.
So what you see is immediately all the Aslanti and the Thessalonians, who are like the other two empires we haven't talked about yet, like refugees and survivors of Earthfall, come swarming into Nidal. And they start like re-establishing roots and living in Nidal because they're under the protection. Like nothing bad's happening in Nidal. Except, of course, bad things are happening in Nidal because they just made a pact with an evil deity.
Yeah.
The Black Triune are now immortal.
Okay.
They are now immortal lords of Nidal. And part of like the compact with Zon Kuthon is they had to go hard on worship of Zon Kuthon. All in on Zon Kuthon.
So what year is this?
This is Earthfall, 5293, minus 5293.
So 12,000 years ago.
Yes.
Is the Black Triune the same as
same
it was?
Three people.
Oh my
they
gosh.
are immortal.
Oh.
They feel nothing except pain, and they are immortal.
No.
Yeah. Not a great situation.
And those horses died like
20
years later.
Yeah, it's like
that's really sad.
Yeah, but maybe those horses' ancestors are still alive, Tyler.
Oh, that's true. Secretariat came out of those horses.
Maybe.
So there's this weird now kind of balance where there's all these people coming in as refugees, and the Triune decides, well, we need like a government to manage these people. Because before, remember, the horse lords were very like hunter-gatherer agrarian, and they have all these other refugees.
Yeah.
So they establish what's called the Umbral Court.
Okay.
This is basically a collection of some of the horse lord nobles, some of the Thessalonian nobles, some of the Aslanti nobles. They become the ruling governing class of Nidal. And they are told and they are focused extremely intently on the worship of Zon Kuthon. So they are like all in. We're going to thank our beneficent leaders who saved the day. And we're going to thank our wonderful Zon Kuthon. for making this all happen, putting it all together.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the composition of the actual Umbral Court kind of ebbs and flows. Nidal is very just whatever about undead. So there's like these sways where all the undead vampires who are also kind of functionally immortal, like they'll slowly outlive a lot of the mortal members until a collection of mortal members goes, oh my gosh, the vampires are going to take over. And then they like murder a bunch of vampire lords and like reestablish the balance of the court, which is very bizarre.
What a great form of government. Hold on. These people have been here too long. Let's murder them.
Yeah.
Well, look.
if it ain't broke.
So Tyler, if you wanted to be part of the Umbral Court,
Yeah.
the ritual's pretty wild.
Okay. It's not, I can't just like go and campaign and get people to vote for me.
Correct. There's no voting. There's no
Oh.
waivers. There's no signatures.
Okay.
First
That's
of all,
good. I hate signatures.
yeah, good. You need like 10 casters. And you're going to stand in the circle of these 10 casters. These casters are going to chant ritual poetry about Zon Kuthon's travels beyond reality and all the horrors he can inflict.
I hope that it's poetry in verse.
I hope so too.
I think it needs to rhyme, or else what are you doing, ritual chanters?
Tyler, if you don't immediately cower in fear regarding all the horrible things that Zon Kuthon can do to you, the ritual immediately fails.
Wait, so you're supposed to cower?
You're supposed to cower. You have to cower.
Oh.
It's all about submission and domination.
Oh.
That's correct. You
Yep.
have to cower.
Uh-huh.
You have to cower.
I didn't explicitly state that in the trigger warning.
Somebody just got triggered by, wait a second, domination? Oh no.
So then you're going to receive just some moderate to severe physical and mental torture, just
Okay.
as part of the course of a mission.
Yeah, of course.
If you successfully pass the ritual, you're part of the Umbral Court. You also get the fun black eyeballs.
Okay, so, but I'm not immortal.
No, you're not immortal,
Okay, but I just get the cool black eye.
but you get the cool black eyeballs.
Cool.
You have a direct connection to the shadow plane now, like spiritually.
Okay.
If you ever commit a heretical act against Zon Kuthon, there is a 25% chance at any moment you'll be instantly teleported to your own private eternal tormentscape prison on the plane of shadow.
Wouldn't some people like that?
I mean, possibly, but
Well,
The
it
torment
would
scape
be
is
it would be
puppies.
your it's your torment, right? So if you're
Yeah.
into like the regular stuff, then you would not be into the I don't know. It's all hugs.
everything's a hug. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go back to signatures. Yeah, I'll just stick
Okay.
with local government. That sounds better.
That's a decision.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hmm.
Okay. So with all that said then, we'll say that the Age of Darkness ends. We have an established Umbral Court. We have the Black Triune. We have a functioning civilization, we'll call it.
Like Sam said, that is crazy that it is so far back.
Mhm.
'Cause I just did not know it was that.
Yeah.
Well,
Like-
especially compared to a lot of our other established governments
Right.
in other areas, which
Right.
are relatively fresh
Right.
compared to the age of Golarion. This one is old.
Yeah.
Yes. Super old. So remember those Velstrax, the Chitons?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
torture
Torture
demons?
demons.
So Zon Kuthon sends them in.
Ah.
They're his people to defend his country.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
They also send in, they send the people of Nidal these things called memory chains. These are powerful artifacts that capture a victim's experiences forever. Specifically, victims' experiences of torment and torture, of course.
Of course.
And then when you wear the chain, you get to experience all the past tortures that are like
Oh,
memorized in the chain.
gosh, can't we have like good memory chains of puppies and loved
Hugs.
ones?
I mean, that could be someone's torture, like covered in puppies. You could experience that.
It's like somebody is receiving terrible pain of getting hugged by puppies, and another person's like, gonna get this memory chain. Wait a second.
Well, and that's the funny part. So every memory chain, it somehow knows if a torture experience is unique, and only new unique tortures can be memorized into the chain. So there's like a minor competition to like figure out new and inventive ways of torture
So
to get your name on the leaderboard of the memory chain, basically.
Okay, wait. So is there a single memory chain, or
There are
do all-
multiple. There's bunches of memory chains.
But like all memory chains know what
I
is
think
a unique
each
torture?
individual one has its own unique.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so you could have like the same torture, like that's considered quote unquote unique on several different memory.
I believe
chains.
so.
Okay.
Yes.
I am
I was gonna
now.
say it was like a cool network, internet. Oh,
The internet of torture. Oh boy.
I'm just thinking about The Good Place now. When when you eventually like talk to like the demons, and I mean obviously that's a comedy TV show, but they're like, "How'd you torture this dude today?"
Look, after a while, you get bored of just screwing eyeballs all day.
Exactly.
Screwing eyeballs.
Exactly. So of course, the people of Nidal take this wonderful, beneficent gift and they build a cathedral around it.
Okay.
You got to keep your torture chains safe, Tyler.
Yeah. So there's an entire So they collect.
That's the center of the capital. That's like the most important thing in the city is like the cathedral that holds the memory chains.
I mean, I'm glad they're not like running around in the street like, oh, I need something to like hitch up my cart. Oh gosh!
Oh my god! This cathedral is actually unironically like an architectural wonder. It's like an enormous, complicated structure. There are some very Nidal takes on architecture. The bottom foundation is built of bones lashed together by spiked chains.
Hey man, architects need some outlet too.
But like you wouldn't even know because the cathedral's 10,000 years old.
Yeah.
So like if you went up, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's a rock foundation. But like the rock foundation is bones. Which is fun.
That's cool.
All the inner walls are lined with shelves made of skulls, and then they're like hung together through the eye sockets with more chain. And then they like hang things on the chain skull shelves. The physics of that didn't totally make sense in my mind, but
you know.
Well, so if you look at the symbol for Nidal, it's a
like
skull
with chains
coming out. So
imagine...
I'm assuming it's like you hook in behind the nose, and then they come down, and then they pop in through somebody else's eyeballs, and then hook around through the nose cavity and back out the other eyeball.
I just don't think I don't think skulls are very load bearing. But
Look.
This is a magical world. I'm sure they reinforced them.
What? They can figure out how to make a skull a hard point.
That's fair. That's fair. And then on these shelves, or like hanging from the chains, are examples of basically every torture device that exists in Golarion. Because they got to get those unique memories into the memory chains.
Cool.
There are also, and here's the catch, right? There are also physical pieces of Aslanti and Thessalonian magical knowledge.
Oh.
All over the cathedral.
Yeah, because they were effectively around when those civilizations still existed.
So they literally have like some of the last remaining physical records of the old world before Earthfall.
Oh
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just behind a bunch
Sam,
of tortured.
If you'd like to get your library card to come pull out some Thessalonian knowledge.
Oh no.
In order to get your library card to the cathedral, you must submit a unique torture into the memory chains.
Do I have to have done it, or is it a theoretical?
You have to physically submit a torture into the memory chains.
Can you submit somebody you don't like?
It has to be you. For your memory card, you have to get, or for your...
So you can't just torture somebody else and
correct.
then get your
memory card. You need to
card.
get your library card, your personal unique torture into the archives.
Boo.
Support your local library.
And some people think this is intentionally a trap. That there's these fonts of the oldest knowledge available in Golarion, and also it's like their way of roping people into the cult of no, just experience a little bit of torture. It'll be fine. You got so much knowledge you can obtain. Just come to the library.
Yeah.
They probably also tell you you get 2 hours, and then it's like they cut you off right when you found something interesting, and it's like, oh, that'll be another torture to get back in.
Another one. Yep. So it's a unique location.
Get into BDSM.
Sorry, that's already been submitted.
What are we doing here?
So this is old, right? We're still way minus 3,800 AR. Okay, so we're gonna jump all the way forward to 4,100 AR.
Okay, so just over it's just been chilling for
we're just gonna hand wave 7,000 years. Yeah, because
they're doing the same thing.
I mean, to be fair, yeah. I mean, if you have the same rulers, the same kind of goal, you're just accumulating tortures.
Yeah,
sure.
The nation is surprisingly stable. Things don't change in Nidal.
Hey, Zon Kuthon is he's weird, but he backs up his promises, I guess.
Yep. So this is just a little side one. In 4,100, the Kuthites, the followers of Zon Kuthon from Nidal, they sent a delegation to the land of the Linorm Kings, trying to convert the Linorm Kings to the faith of Zon Kuthon. And they send the embassy out.
Dude, that's got to be a rough sell.
They've been alone too long that they thought that was gonna work it's gonna go well. Yes, I've been in my city torturing people all the time. I can't imagine that there's people that wouldn't want this.
Have you heard the good word of Zon Kuthon? No, he's a torture god. Please leave.
Well, yeah, so they just kill them all.
Oh, okay.
The Lenorm Kings just kill the entire delegation. They're like, we want no part of that.
Good for you,
Respect.
Lenorm Kings.
The Lenorm Kings are like, we are already killing our own dragons. Just
Please no, we don't want any part of this.
Nope.
So that basically destroys, unlike all of our other previous nations who want to go exploring, that was like Nidal's one chance to go exploring. It fails miserably. Nidal's just like, we get it. We're not made to explore. We're made to torture. We're going to stay here.
At least they know their limits.
I feel like there's probably a world that could have worked, but just not the Lenorm King. They went to one place. They're like, well, we tried. Back to demon. Back to torture.
They needed to go like somewhere where they presented it as like sexy torture, and I don't think the Lenorm Kings were the sexy torture group.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Sam.
Oh, no.
Because our friends Cheliax soon enter the scene.
The sexiest of tortures.
The sexiest of tortures.
If anyone was going to be into it.
Stupid sexy Cheliax.
Right. So this is pre-demons Cheliax, right?
Yeah.
Pre-devils Cheliax. We talked last time. Emperor Halad III begins the Everwar.
Yeah.
He sends troops into Nidal. And the Nidalese are actually kind of upset with Zon Kuthon at this point. They're like, why don't you send all those torture demons to like protect us, master?
Oh.
And he kind of doesn't. He kind of holds back his forces. And after 30 years of fighting, Nidal surrenders. The Black Triune sends out the orders. Everyone lay down your arms. We work for Cheliax.
Huh.
Yeah. So this is now called the Shadow Break. The people of Nidal feel like the haze of shadows of Zon Kuthon kind of lifts.
Yeah.
And suddenly the nation kind of starts waking up from a bit of a hangover. They feel like some of the arts are starting to flourish a little bit. Again, Cheliax isn't a bad place right now. So it's like Chelish influences, Chelish literature, Chelish art, Chelish industry, all of these things start entering the nation.
Huh.
And it's kind of going okay. And then the Chelish Civil War breaks out.
Of course.
So it was going great.
Yeah.
It's not going great anymore.
Not great.
The Black Triune immediately contact House Throne. And they're like, hi, best friends. We would like to support your demon antics with our own torture demons.
Devil antics.
Devil antics with our own torture devils.
Okay.
Yes. House Throne accepts. They send the Chitons or the, what are they called again? I keep forgetting. Velstrax. I know the 1E1. Yeah. They send the Velstrax into Cheliax. They help House Throne. They kill a bunch of people in the Civil War, and they win.
Huh.
And they help put House Throne on the throne. And this is where the Black Triune feels like everyone's like, it was 5D chess by the Black Triune, because now, where before they would have had like a kind of questionable deal with Cheliax if they had kept fighting, or maybe they would have had bad things. Now they're like they're in the good graces of House Throne. So they are granted kind of quasi-independence, and they are like a close ally of Cheliax now. And the Shadow Break ends.
Can you imagine being almost like 11,000 years old and then having this like upstart Cheliax try to invade you? You're like, freaking kids these days.
I don't have time for this.
I gotta go torture more.
Yeah, so the Shadow Break ends. The Umbral Court and the Black Triune, they purge everyone who could even remotely be considered moderate. So they just they go a-killing.
Maybe the Black Triune, because they can only feel pain, was like, yes, let's do more war things. Or yes, let's go under Cheliax and support more people getting pained up. I don't know.
Maybe. No one really knows exactly why they did it, but it's a flex.
Yeah.
So before I was talking about the Cathedral of Embodied Wisdom, where all the stuff was living.
Yeah. Those
people who they purge, they either kill them, or they send them to the Cathedral of Exquisite Agony. Nidal's really into cathedrals. Like every city has a cathedral. So they send all these people to the Cathedral of Exquisite Agony, where they are tortured for the rest of their lives.
Oh, okay.
Exquisitely tortured.
Exquisite torture. Cool.
They also establish these things called the Adamant Guard, which is like their version of a standing army.
Mm-hmm.
And they have 3 prerogatives. Number 1, crush the heresy. Anyone who is not 100% for Zon Kuthon, you kill or torture them.
Oh.
Crush the heresy. Number 2, neutralize escaped thralls or wandering monsters. So I'll do the second part first. All the generic bad things of a fantasy setting that like wandering monsters, take care of them. But more importantly, anybody who escaped Nidal, kill them. Because we don't want people bad-mouthing Zon Kuthon outside of our borders. So take care of them. And number 3, face the foes that oppose Zon Kuthon.
I mean,
which feels a little redundant.
Yeah.
But
kill anybody not serving Zon Kuthon. Kill anybody not agreeing with Zon Kuthon.
Yeah.
Well, it's heresy, right? So that would be talking out against, and then foe would be acting against.
Mm.
So if you're neutral and saying nothing, I think you're okay until someone interprets that as heresy or being a foe.
Great. I'm glad we clarified that. We can send our notes to the Umbral Court so they can put
That'll
it all
work.
together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, House Thrun wins the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
There's like an exchange of devils. So, Nidal devils help out in Cheliax. Cheliax devils help out in Nidal.
I mean,
It's a win-win.
yeah, win-win. What can go wrong?
It's a win-win. Everybody wins. And we'll just jump to current day. Because again, like not a lot of...
It's just like the epitome of torture stability.
Yeah, torture stability. It's a great form of government.
It's a
stable form of government. So Nidal's a wonderful place. There are multiple permanent portals to the Shadow Plane scattered all over Nidal. My favorite is called the Shadow Storm. It's this enormous moving portal storm that just drifts around the Umbral Basin, which is like the pass between the Menador Mountains and the Mindspin Mountains.
Okay.
And it just randomly opens and closes both directions.
Hmm.
So you could just be like out, like trying to pass through there, and all of a sudden, like a gigantic portal opens up above you in the sky, and it drops a bunch of torture demons on you. Or you could get sucked into the portal in the sky and sent to the Shadow Plane.
So depending on who you are, that could be a horrible situation or a great surprise.
Right. So most people try to avoid the Umbral Basin
Fair.
because it's just, I guess, it's a giant hurricane of portaling.
Yeah.
Nidal remains one of the premier suppliers of glass, silver jewelry, and dark gemstones to Cheliax, as well as products of the Shadow Plane. They have a monopoly on products of the Shadow Plane.
That makes sense.
Obviously, this is not a huge market. Like glass is not a huge market. They do make the fanciest, most popular glass.
Ooh.
So Nidal specializes in coated glasses. So like they make a special red coated glass that the Chelish nobles just die for. They love it.
Well,
Sam's
they
looking
had
at me
to
very-
make all these cathedrals, so you obviously need fancy stained glass.
Yeah, like no joke, there's like 5 or 6 different famous glass manufacturers in Nidal.
It's like the Renaissance if the Renaissance got real weird.
These paintings are very well done, but very horrifying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leather.
Well,
They probably work in good leather products, yeah.
of course.
Pretty much everyone other than Cheliax either fears or distrusts Nidal.
That makes sense.
I don't know why.
Who could say?
It is almost kind of sad to a degree. So the citizens of Nidal, like some of those people who would like to escape, part of the reason why they don't try to escape is they fear reprisals if they get out into the open world and say they're Nidalese. So that's kind of sad. There are rumors, this is awesome, there are rumors that Nidal is in negotiation with Geb.
Sure.
Cool.
We haven't talked about Geb.
We will, yep.
We'll get there eventually. But apparently Geb is looking for a way for their vampires to walk around in daytime.
Okay.
And Nidal has the premier shadow magic in Golarion. So they think they can somehow work out a deal of shadow for the vampires.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Could you send us your biggest umbrella?
Yeah, just like it's very, very hyper-specific negotiations. There is a small, unorganized resistance to Zon Kuthon inside the nation, but it's been around for how long? 12,000 years.
Yeah.
It's not made much headway yet.
Good luck.
It doesn't seem like it's going to make much headway. There is also a push by the followers of Desna. They are very against what Zon Kuthon stands for.
Fair.
So they have probably the closest thing to an organized resistance, to the point where they're like identified. The Desnan faith is identified as, if not outlawed, strongly discouraged. And like we assume they're revolutionaries if you follow Desna. The average person, so like the average person in Nidal, it very much feels like Cheliax, where they don't really actually buy in. They're not all into super torture.
Makes sense.
They just kind of show up in the morning. They give their rituals. They like hit themselves once on the back in front of a government official and like, yep, praise Zon Kuthon. Can I go buy oranges now?
Yeah.
And also, just like Cheliax, the nobles are all in.
Of course.
The nobles will hold these massive torture parties where they like torture each other, torture themselves. And the really interesting socioeconomic point of this is the nobles can afford healing magic. So they can self-torture and then heal, whereas it's explicitly stated your normal commoners cannot survive many of the higher level Kuthite rituals required to be fully like in the faith because they can't afford healing magic.
Yeah. What a strange wealth gap.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre implication of healing magic that only the rich can afford it in this nation.
And it really keeps your class separation.
Yeah, it's very rigid for that reason. It's good. It's a good time. So that's Nidal. Nidal's a fun place. It's a stable place.
It is.
It's this wonderful cathedral architecture, and yeah, they're around. They're doing their thing. They're not planning on changing their thing. They're not going up or down. They just are.
That's fair. They've been around for 12,000 years and are
making it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Ryan.
You are so welcome.
Not sure I needed this episode. But yeah, so after all that great story, we're going to take a break, hear a word from our sponsors, and come back to see what other campaign and character shenanigans we can come up with. We'll be right back. This season on How to Build a Torture Room, we follow different couples working on their dream Nidalese torture rooms. They'll be stretching their budget.
But do we have enough money to get both the real leather whips and the authentic almoner chains?
They'll be whipping up some creative designs.
I just want to have a room that can fill up a memory chain.
And dealing with conflicting taste.
I said I wanted a wrought iron cage, and this is brushed nickel. Take it back or scrap the whole project.
Will they create the rooms of their nightmares? Or be disappointed with the same old tortures? Find out on the new season of How to Build a Torture Room, airing this fall. Brought to you by Umbral Entertainment. Hey, welcome back to the Tabletop Travel Guide, and thank you to our sponsors, Umbral Entertainment. Yeah, go check them out if you're into that. So now we will switch over to Sam for a campaign. Tell us what you got.
I have a campaign, miraculously. Okay, so for this campaign, we are headed to Pangolace.
Pangolace?
Maybe.
Pangalai? Is the S silent?
Could be
I'm
silent.
not sure.
There's no
Do we think
pronunciation
that
listed.
it's French?
Cool.
We're going to go with Pangolace.
Cool. I
Okay.
like it.
Anyway, this is the capital city of Nidal. It is located in the Uskwood, which is the giant forest in the middle of Nidal, as most of our countries in Golarion. It also has a giant
I
forest.
appreciate that most countries care about nature.
Right. So the interesting thing about this being located in the forest is this city is covered by such a dense canopy of trees that it is dark all the time.
Perfect.
Ooh,
So
love it.
they also have like, it's shadowy in Nidal, but we also have the trees, so it's just dark. So vampires love it. Woo!
Good.
So, with it being the capital, senior members of the Umbral Court meet here 3 times a year. They like get together to do whatever weird orgy stuff they're doing.
Official government policy.
I said what I said, Ryan. So we are here. The party is going to have a slightly different goal than the rest of Nidal. So Ryan mentioned that Desna has some supporters here and they're a little bit underground. So we are going to be joining the Whispered Song, which is the underground secret society devoted to Desna.
Perfect.
In Nidal. I also wanted to do a little bit of a higher level campaign. So I did ask Tyler to build a character at level 12 because we're going to go in. I did feel like with Nidal, although it's a super weird place, there's a lot of like very cool like monsters and builds and things that you could interact with at a higher level.
It's a fun place to go fighting in. Yes.
Yes. So I wanted it to be higher level so we could meet some of those like more interesting characters. So the party's goal as we're starting the campaign is that there have been some people that have been captured by the Umbral Court, and the party's initial goal is to figure out where they are being held and to rescue them. Presumably they're in one of those fun cathedrals around the city. I also am hoping that, like, while people might know where those cathedrals are, like, getting into them is tough. The entrances are probably secret. So the campaign is kind of start from a place of you need to explore and find out how to get into these places, how to infiltrate, all while not getting caught yourself. And then the second part of the campaign is going to be then actually breaking in and trying to rescue people.
Oh, it's a heist then, kind of, yeah.
It is. So it's a little espionage. It's a little bit of a heist. We're going to fight some things along the way. We might accidentally end up in the shadow plane somewhere,
of course.
for funsies. So
Nice.
yeah, that
Okay.
is where we're going.
Cool. So when Sam did give me a bit of a spoiler and said that, you know, this wasn't going to be somebody who was all in for Nidal. And I'm like, we'll see where we go. Because I was thinking high level, and yeah, but I think this might work out. My character is named Jaroon Solis.
Jaroon Solis.
Jaroon Solis, and he is a fetchling. Speaking of shadow planes, there is a ancestry called fetchling where they are basically descendants of humans who got trapped in the shadow plane.
Oh.
I believe fetchlings were humans who were quote unquote saved from Earthfall
Yes.
by deity called the Widow.
Mm-hmm.
And they
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it kind of like where Nidal went to Zon Kuthon, they jumped into the shadow plane and then
they
kind of
hid
got
there.
stuck there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they also like to be called Kayal instead of fetchling, because fetchling is actually kind of a derogatory term made by humans or material plane folk. So he is a Kayal. He was born in Beacon, which I'm going to say a lot of words, and in the next episode we'll talk a little bit more about the planes. But it is if you think of the shadow plane as a dark mirror of Golarion, the material plane, Beacon is where Absalom is. So it's also known as Shadow Absalom.
Oh.
Yeah. It's really cool. And there's they call it Beacon because at the center of it, there's this thing called the glare, which is a light that can transport you back to where you were, where you entered the shadow plane.
Well, it's like almost like a lighthouse.
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that being said, he was born in Beacon. He has always been a very natural shadow caster and magic user. So he's a shadow sorcerer bloodline, and then he's also a shadow caster, which is an archetype. So like all in on shadows on this guy.
Nice.
And he's kind of an opportunist. And so I imagine he wanted to move to the material plane. He can kind of go back and forth, right? So he probably heard about Nidal as a place that both shadow power is kind of revered, which is good for him, and it's a place that you can make a lot of money if you know how to get back and forth from the shadow plane. I imagine he kind of like went to the shadow plane or went to Nidal without much context and was just like, oh yeah, they do shadow jewels.
Yeah,
and
they buy
stuff.
They buy the goods.
They're a
then
trade partner.
And then he's like, oh, this is horrifying. He's lawful neutral, but I imagine, you know, he's definitely not on the torture side of things. So
Sure.
I think in my head, he like enjoys the stability of a place that's not quote unquote dangerous like the shadow plane is, and he's able to kind of utilize his shadow magic to gain power.
Yes. Yeah. It's like well in demand.
Yeah. So he's level 12, so I imagine he's like lived in Nidal for a while. He's kind of been back and forth. He can make money by going to shadow plane, but I think he might have wanted to set his sights on the power of the Umbral Court and like how to get into that.
Oh,
and
you want to join it?
Yeah.
Oh.
But you talking about the whispered song, I couldn't really think of a way like why would he really want to join this for power? And I imagine he might be trying to do both, like best of both worlds. He doesn't exactly support the Umbral Court, but he knows that that's how the power is. So maybe he kind of joins the group of the whispered song.
Well, so with the Whispered Song, there is rumors that they have infiltrated the Umbral Court. So
Yeah.
maybe you have been offered a deal by the Whispered Song that they will support you getting into the Umbral Court if then once you are there, you tell them
stuff.
information.
Yeah.
Which I think he'd be all for. He's not, we need to save Nidal, but he's probably like, well, this is a good opportunity to get more power and also kind of save a little bit of conscience there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think he'd be on board with doing all this. And worst case, he just goes back to the Shadow Plane. Because like you said, like the Umbral Court get their powers to go to the Shadow Plane, but like he could always do that anyway.
Right,
So like he doesn't need the Umbral Court for shadow magic.
Yeah, he like needs the power for like the material plane and like,
more
conventional things.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I would take all of that information, and as a GM, I would have your character encounter a cleric of Desna somewhere along the way, and you would have one of those moments where you get presented with all this information about how Desna can also be a patron of the shadows and the darkness because she is the goddess of the night sky and travel. And you have been a traveler for so long.
Yeah, back
so
and forth.
Don't
lots of
worry,
traveling.
I would try to convert you.
I mean, I like it. I like that thought of having somebody who's just here for power and money to like grow a heart and do more things. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm in for it. I think Jaroon would do very well in the campaign that you have running.
And the Whispered Song too, their goal is not to like free everybody from Nidal. Like they understand obviously that Nidal's kind of like far gone. The idea is just like if there are people that want to leave or that we can save, we should, but we understand that like the country as a whole is kind of a lost cause, but individual people are still important.
They sound very like underground railroady almost, like identifying people and then helping, not
That's fair.
overthrowing the government.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nice.
Cool. Okay.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. So I was like sneak in and some good shadow things and
I was really worried about Nidal and having to come up with something for this because I was like, oh my gosh, it's all terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You find the things that are not terrifying and you build campaigns off of them.
Just like a little spark of hope.
A little nugget.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so the last thing we have to do.
5 out of 5.
Oh my gosh.
Are you paid by Zon Kuthon? Yeah, so let's do on a scale of 1 to 5 chains.
Spike
chains.
chains.
1 to 5
Tyler.
spike chains. What would you give Nidal?
Yeah, 1, obviously.
Yeah.
This is a horrible place. I don't want to go here. This sounds awful.
I feel like this is a very specific person's 5, and it is not me.
Look, you almost had me with the library with all the really old stuff, and then you were like, but you have to get tortured to get your library card.
Yep.
And then it went right back down to a 1 for me.
Yeah, I'm a 1. I spent
Totally
most of this
1.
episode just cringing, so
Absolutely
I'm a 1.
1.
Cool.
Tyler did. You couldn't see Tyler's face for this, but there was a lot of, I'm very uncomfortable face.
So, okay, official tabletop travel guide rating. 1 out of 5 spike chains. Do not go here unless you are a very particular type of person.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks guys. This was a fun talk about
I had fun researching it. Honestly, I like we said before, like you look at the nations like these monolithic blocks, and then as you like read the source material, like there's more. Like, I just see it as very tragic.
Yeah.
Like, all of this was because they loved their horses so much.
Yeah,
like,
I think it is cool to just see the history of probably the most stable country in Golarion.
Yeah.
And just like the tragic history and the horrible current situation.
Yeah, it's awful, but I like understand it.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks to everybody listening. We appreciate, you coming along with us. And if you made it this far in the episode, thank you especially. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at tabletoptravelguidepodcast@gmail.com. Like we said last episode, we're also making our Instagram more of a thing, so feel free to DM us at tabletoptravelguide. We'll also be posting pictures and stuff we talked about both on the Instagram and on our website at tabletoptravelguide.com. And then if you like what you're hearing, tell your friends. Give us a rating. If you want a review, go for it. But yeah.
Maybe don't have those friends start on this episode. This might not be the best one.
This is not the episode to start on.
Or maybe it is.
Unless you have those friends.
If that's your starting point, then please do not invite us to your table. But we hope you have a great time.
We respect your bag, but do not invite us to it. Cool. Okay. Well, with that, until next time, everybody, safe travels.
Very safe travels.
Bon voyage!